Hey, Algebra 2 students, I had a request to go over a couple problems from your practice. This is over the rational exponents, and I think this is when we have a rational exponent in the denominator after you're done simplifying. And so what do you do after that? Okay, so this one's number 13. And what I would do, remember with the same base, when you're dividing, you're going to subtract the exponents. So what I did first was I went ahead and simplified the 1 over 4, which is 1 over 2, 2 over 4, which is 1 over 2. And then I took the x to the negative 7 over 4 power and x to the 4/3. I'm going to subtract these. Okay, I'm going to subtract those. So when you do that, that's when you have to get your common denominator. So you have a negative 7/4 minus 4/3. The common denominator is 12, so it's a negative 21 over 12 minus 16 over 12. Now how I got that was I multiplied this by 3 over 3 and this fraction by 4 over 4. So a negative 21 minus 16 ends up being a negative 37 over 12. That's your exponent. So where's that going to go? That's going to go in the denominator. So it's 1 over 2x to the 37 over 12. Okay. And I'm going to pause. So the 37 over 12, that becomes a rational exponent in the denominator. So we have to figure out a way how to make that a whole number. So you got to think about multiples of 12 to make sure that's that comes out to be a whole number when you divide it. So we can multiply by x to what power? So I think, okay, we're at 37. So what's the next multiple in line of 12? That's 48. Okay, so 37 plus what is going to get us 48? Right, it's 11. So we got to multiply top and bottom by x to the 11/12. And you're going to see what happens. Remember, when we multiply, then what do we do with these exponents? Right, we are going to add them. Okay, we're going to add them here. So when that happens, we end up with x to the 11/12 over, we still have this 2 out in front, and then it's going to be x to the 48 over 12. And so that's 48 over 12. What does that simplify down to? Right, it simplifies down to 4. And that's what you want. You want those whole number exponents in the denominator. You cannot have those, you cannot have fraction exponents in the denominator. So another one like this is number 21, and I can show you what that looks like. So here's number 21. When we go ahead and simplify this down right away, what I did was I went ahead and multiplied this, because a power to a power means you're multiplying. So we end up with x to the 5/8 times y to the negative 5/2. It's actually a negative 10 over 4, but I made it a negative 5/2 over x squared y to the 1/2. Okay, so now we're all about that base, so we're going to go ahead and subtract. So with the x's, I'm going to do the x's first. I'll highlight that right here. So with that, we have 5/8 minus 2. We have to get a common denominator. So that's going to be 5/8 minus 16 over 8. And that is going to be a negative 11/8. So that's going to be on your x. So it's going to be x to the negative 11/8. Now let's do the y's, because we're all about that base. Looking at this right here. So it looks like we're going to have a negative 5/2 minus a half. So what does that end up being? That ends up being a negative 3. So it looks like we're going to have y to the negative 3rd. So now, since these are negative exponents, we're going to put them in the denominator. So it looks like we have 1 over x to the 11/8 and then y to the third. So y to the third is good. That's a whole number. That can stay there. But 11/8 we cannot have fraction exponents in the denominator. We can't leave it like that. So what are we going to multiply by on top and on bottom to get this to be a whole number? So again, think about those multiples of 8. So 11, we're at 11 right now. How do we get to that next multiple of 8? So it comes out to be a whole number when we divide. Right, 16. So 11 plus what will get us 16? 5. So we have to multiply by 5/8 on top and on bottom, because whatever you do on top or whatever you do on bottom, you got to do on top. So now it ends up being x to the 5/8 on top over, we end up with x squared, because 11/8 plus 5/8 is 16/8, which is 2, which is what we wanted. We want a whole number exponents over y to the third. So that's what happens anytime you end up with an exponent that is a fraction in your denominator. You got to rationalize that out. Okay, that's what that's called, rationalizing your denominator. You got to get whole numbers. You got to end up with whole numbers in the denominator. Okay, all right, that's all I got for you. Keep coming with the questions, and we'll talk to you later.